All right, fellas, what's going on? We're live for a couple minutes here before Wildcard Saturday. 49ers, Seahawks, we got the first game on deck, and then we also have Jaguars and Chargers later tonight. We're going to probably go through here and just kind of break down like our playoff predictions, just get it on the record before, anything happens so we can say I told you so later on when the Eagles win the Super Bowl and the Cowboys lose in the first round of the Bucks. We're gonna go through a little playoff predictor here and see what we can get predicted for this postseason run.
For sure. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's be real. The heart, the mind, everything is pointing to me with the Cowboys, and I got to at the end of the day. But at the same time, it's like I can't predict them to just win the Super Bowl until I just see them win one playoff game. That's kind of where I'm at.
It's gonna be funny to me. I think the cool thing for me is like I've gotten to see two of my favorite teams. Yeah, well, no. So what I was going to say was I've seen two of my favorite teams win championships over the last 5 years. I've seen the Toronto Raptors win the NBA title, and I've seen the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the Super Bowl. And both teams had a common thing in the thing, other than the fact that they brought in superstars the year before to help them win the Super Bowl and the NBA title. But the common thing that I saw was that both of them almost like the divisional round or like the second round of the playoffs was like their key game. And then they coasted to the championship versus because that matchup against the 76ers that the Raptors had where Kawhi had to hit the shot. And then, of course, the Buccaneers had to overcome the Saints, who had beaten them two games in a row during the regular season. Once both of those games were won, I was like, this team can win it all, especially with the Bucks. I was like, I think we're going to win the Super Bowl now after that happened. But even with the Raptors, I was thinking the same thing. And I think if the Cowboys can beat the Bucks and then beat the Eagles, then I think they'll win the Super Bowl.
That's where I'm at as well. Because, I mean, I just need to see them do it. I'm biased. I'm an optimistic fan. All of you guys know that I am very optimistic watching my team. And when they do well, it's very, very enjoyable. However, even as optimistic as I am, I just need to see it. Like on paper, you're a 4-win better team. Your offense is better. Your defense is better. Overall, you've been the more consistent team all fucking year. But it's still fucking goddamn Brady in a 1-game winner go home type of situation. I don't care if the Bucks are an objectively worse team than you. If you keep this game fucking close and you don't put your fucking foot through their throat and you leave Brady a chance at the end of the game, yeah, I'm going to be fucking clenching my butt cheeks together. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, that's the old adage of Tom Brady. You can't leave him too much time on the clock at the end of the game because everybody's going to expect it, right? If it's 17-17 and Brady's got a minute and 2 timeouts, like everybody's going to be like, you gave him too much time.
I mean, we literally saw that script opening week last year where the Cowboys were up at the end of the game. And I'm not going to bring up that little OPI that wasn't called, but I will
in typical Cowboys fan fashion, you did still bring it up.
However, did you see that we're getting, what's his name's crew? Starts with the last name W. I was actually having a conversation with Billy. I was having a conversation.
We're not getting Hockey League. Please tell me we're not getting Hockey League.
I had a conversation with Billy on Twitter, but we're getting a Rollstad's crew, which have actually been favorable in the past to both Brady and both the Cowboys. But apparently his crew is known for not calling a lot of penalties. He was the crew who headlined the Rams versus Seahawks last week. And if you watched that game at all, you saw that there were a lot of penalties that could have went against the Seahawks that weren't called.
Right. How do I actually do this playoff predictor thing? Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out. Do you have to log in first?
No, it should just show up.
Okay, well, it's not.
Don't click my link. That's probably.
I didn't click your link. I went to a random. I just went to the site, but it's already filled out for some reason. I don't know how to It's filled out as 1 1 2 2. It's not completely filled out correctly.
Oh, obviously. Okay. Show me what you got there, and we'll rip it.
Here, how about here? You want to just pull one up and I'll just tell you what to put in, and I'll answer some comments in the meantime.
Yeah. So I'll just show mine first. You guys can sub out, of course, the I don't know why it shows Bills, Ravens, and Bengals, Dolphins, but just switch those two because it's going to be the same thing. This is me being a pessimistic fan, realistically. Objectively, you should win this game if you're the Cowboys. So that's what I think is going to happen. Jaguars going over the Chargers there. Very similar teams, very similar quarterbacks, just one I trust, especially in terms of their weaknesses compared to the Chargers' overwhelming weakness with that run defense. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars there. Everything else pretty simple. Bengals over Ravens, Bills over Dolphins here. NFC side, I mean, I mentioned that I could have a potential worry about a rookie quarterback with the 49ers, but if they're healthy, I mean, the Seahawks just realistically shouldn't be able to win or, for that matter, keep it within 6 points. So I'm going to go with the Niners there. Vikings over Giants, something that I tousled for a while, but I feel like people are kind of way too on the other end when it comes to the Vikings. I want to pick the Giants. Like, it feels good picking the Giants here, but I don't know. The Vikings win on like a walk-off field goal and everybody's hyped. It's like 24-22.
If you can bet a push on the spread, like if you're actually able to bet a push on the spread, then I highly suggest you do so, because the Vikings are 3-point favorites and I could totally see them winning on a last second field goal by 3 points. And if you could somehow bet the push, it would probably be really good odds. And I think it's actually a decent bet to make, just given what the Vikings have done this whole season. But yeah, I think I would say that your bracket looks pretty conventional. Aside from like Bills Bengals in that second round matchup, there's not a whole lot of deviation that I think a lot of people would say. Maybe Eagles Cowboys, maybe Bills Bengals, but for the most part, I think most people will probably say that this is what's going to happen. But as we know, it never goes the way you think it's going to, right? There's going to be something that maybe even today, maybe tomorrow, that we don't expect to happen, right? Maybe, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think, what's the crazy scenario? Maybe the Ravens upset the Bengals or something, right? Like, that could throw a wrench in the entire thing, because then suddenly you have Kansas City playing the Ravens in the second round, Jags and Bengals playing each other. Sorry, Jags and Bills playing each other in the second round. Then that would throw a wrench in the whole seeding situation. Yeah. Maybe the Jaguars pull something out their ass and go on a run. Maybe the Chargers could see the same thing. Chargers could do the same thing. Like, there's a lot of possibilities here. On the NFC side, I think the only berserker is Tampa Bay. I think it's going to be Dallas, Philadelphia, or San Francisco as the Super Bowl representative. The only possible other team, in my opinion, is Tampa Bay. But I could see Minnesota doing something as we never expect them to
maybe an NFC championship.
We think they're this fraudulent team that keeps winning lucky games, but guess what, man? Playoff football is usually close games too. So if they know how to win close games, it's possible that they sneak through and beat a San Francisco in the second round or something like that.
This is realistically the Cowboys right now. This is my ultimate quote unquote hedge of my predictions. Yes, there's a possibility they lose this week, but I do think if they win this week and they can get momentum rolling, like, I get it. Philadelphia has a very, very good home field advantage. But if there's one fucking team that can hop into the link and beat them, it's going to be the team that's been in that division with the Eagles for fucking who knows how long, with the Cowboys, and has had genuine success, especially under Dak, against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I don't know. This is me hedging. You got to go with the Eagles. It's a 50-50 game. It's in the link. So
it's a reverse jinx. If you recall, we did a playoff predictor the year the Bucs won the Super Bowl, and I had the Saints beating them in the divisional round, and we know how that turned out. So yeah, maybe Danny's hedging, and it's like a tradition to make sure that you hedge in the divisional round. I would say I'm honestly, my bracket's going to look a lot like this, so I'm not even going to change anything about this. The only thing I would have different is that I think the Chargers will beat the Jaguars tonight.
That's fair.
And I think the rest of it's probably fine. The other major change would be I think the Bills would beat the Chiefs. And I don't mind that. I think we get a Bills-Eagles Super Bowl that Philadelphia is going to end up winning. But I think Buffalo's got, with this whole DeMar Hamlin situation, I think they got some good mojo, good mojo, good juju heading into the playoffs. I think they're going to go on a bit of like a special run, and it would not shock me at the end of the day if Josh Allen's hoisting the trophy.
Hey, good juju, and then they beat Juju.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
I'm joking.
I think I do think it's going to go chalk. It's going to go Chiefs, Bills, AFC Championship, Eagles, 49ers, NFC Championship. I do think that is what is going to end up happening. But again, this is the NFL, man. NFL shit. Like, if we get a Cowboys Vikings NFC Championship, am I going to be shocked? No.
Dude, it would be so funny if somehow it was the Cowboys versus Jaguars Super Bowl, and all fucking week we have to watch on replay Noah Brown's tipped up pick six.
Yeah, I think it'd be hilarious if we get I'm already mentally prepared for if Brock Purdy makes the Super Bowl to hear the Mr. Irrelevant questions for 7 straight days leading up to the Super Bowl. Like, I'm already sick of it, and it hasn't even happened yet. So
all the homies cheering against San Francisco just for that. Like, I can't stand all the fucking narratives. Is Brock Purdy the new Brady?
Yeah, he's going to get the Brady treatment. Or like even Russell Wilson, the year Russell Wilson went to the Super Bowl, he wasn't a rookie that year, was he?
Second year.
Second year. I could definitely see I could definitely see kind of like a similar vibe, because the whole vibe around that Super Bowl was that Russell Wilson was like this really young quarterback that everybody kind of wrote off because he was short and all that stuff. So I remember that that year that they dummied the Broncos in the Super Bowl. That was kind of like the narrative.
So we'll get through our other, wild card predictions today. We'll make a bet on it. Just gonna read a couple comments, maybe until 4:20, so we have some time to rule. So, hey boys, what's up, Brock? Live before the Bucks. Oh, you guys can't wait.
Oh yeah, we might do a whole bunch of like little prop bets or something. We should make up like a prop sheet or something, just because that's our two teams and it's a playoff game. There's got to be some kind of like cool going on about that.
Speaking of that game, I was watching. I think it was Kurt Warner who basically broke down both sides of the ball, and ultimately what you guys were doing on defense, and it's pretty easy what you guys were doing. It's
in week one,
yeah. Basically, what you were saying is no other wide receiver on this team is going to win their matchups one-on-one other than CeeDee Lamb. So you were coming out with a traditional two-high look. You were bringing the safety basically back down to sort of help out in the slot against CeeDee Lamb, and you were leaving any other wide receiver one-on-one on an island with Carlton Davis. And Dennis Houston, no other fucking receivers were going to win that fucking one-on-one.
Quite frankly, I don't think any receiver on your team would win that now either.
Probably not. Maybe TY because he brings some speed and that could catch Carlton.
But I think Gallup wouldn't win that. Like the way Gallup has played, I don't think Gallup
he doesn't get any separation right now.
Even if he was 100% healthy, Carlton's the type of corner that could limit a guy like him.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I will say if he was playing his better ball, I'd like my chances there a lot more. But I mean, the guy's not creating separation right now. And again, do you have to create separation? Like, no, because you're a physical wide receiver. But if you're just gonna say, "Hey, listen,
we're gonna quarter like Carlton, man, you throw it in Carlton's vicinity, he's never gonna catch it. He can't
knock it down.
Get interceptions, but he will knock it down. He leads the league in pass breakups at that position. So
it was really interesting watching that back because I mean there were some opportunities, but I mean realistically, the Bucs game plan in that game was just honestly fucking on point.
Which is why I think part of the reason why I am confident that we can limit your offense is that I think our defense matches up very well with your offense and. Your best asset is CeeDee Lamb. I think we have the corners to be able to take him away and the scheme to be able to do that as well. The issue that I have now versus in week one is that our pass rush has been decimated by injuries. Yeah. So we're going to have to manufacture pressure. And that could mean, a lot of Pollard stuff out of the backfield or a lot of quick passes to Dalton Schultz or something like that.
That's what you guys were doing really well. I think the problem with the Cowboys in the first game, all you guys were, by the way, doing in the first game, coming out in double mug looks, dropping David and Devin White back into their zones. And the Cowboys, for some reason, would just continually stick with a max protect rather than having a leaker out of the backfield. Because even if you're not throwing it to the leaker in the backfield, realistically, you have, Dalton Schultz run out and run like a 7-yard hook. Your corners, your safeties can't fully play that bracket on the outside of the receivers because they have to respect that there's another option for the.
To be honest, I think we did a great job. I think you guys did kind of adjust mid-game to throw a lot of like button hooks like 7 yards down the field.
Yeah.
But our corners and our linebackers and our safeties were breaking on them so fast that we had.
David was incredible in that game.
David played so well, and so did like Edwards and Winfield were like rallying to the ball. I think the one interception was off of like a knockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Carlton knock it down and it popped up to Edwards, or I can't remember who picked it. Winfield. It was Winfield's pick.
Yeah, I believe so. There was also one play where you had Levante David basically, already 5 yards off the ball. He climbed back probably until, a 12-yard, curl flat, if you will, and got under a deep into CD, basically jumped up, put his hand up, knocked the ball down. It's like you get a linebacker with that type of instincts, that type of range, and that type of awareness, like, man,
he's the best dude. I think he's legitimately him and like Eric Kendricks and like Fred Warner. I think they've been the best coverage linebackers in the league for the last like 5 years at least. And it's crazy. The one thing I will say about the Bucs Cowboys matchup before we move on is I think I never thought I'd say this about a Bucs. I think one of your best game plans going into that game is to run the ball.
Probably.
Because I really don't like the matchup for your passing game. I think David can handle Schultz no problem. Winfield, if Lamb is in the slot, will have no issues. If he's on the outside, Carlton and Dean are more than capable, and they're going to roll coverage his way. I don't love the matchup for your passing game. I think the way that you win is Dak running and maybe getting out of the pocket and being able to disrupt like the play and how they design it up. And also, if Pollard and Zeke are efficient, then it should keep things on schedule.
I think CD's going to have a much better game this time out.
Personally. I don't think you guys are going to win this game because of Lamb.
The reason why I think so is in week one, that was when we started using CD almost predominantly on option routes. And you could even tell up until midway in the season, even when Dak came back, that they just weren't really on the same page with all of their option routes. And I feel like, especially since the Green Bay game, like halftime of the Green Bay game, once Lamb took over after the first 2 interceptions in the first half, they've been a lot more on page. So if CeeDee Lamb and Dak can really be on page with those option routes, it takes a lot of the margin for error out of it, if you will. Because obviously, if you're sticking to the same route combinations, you're getting defenses able to jump on that, read their keys, make some plays on the ball. But if you're having Dak and Lamb on the same page on these option routes, seeing the same thing, you're going to have a lot more opportunity in that aspect. So if we
correct
can get
me if I'm wrong, though, hasn't part of Dak's interception problem
correct
been him and his receivers not being on the same page?
Correct. But what I'm saying is a lot less of it has been on CD in recent weeks, especially the last month or so. It's been Noah Brown tipping it up. It's been, Michael Gallup not hands catching. It's been like just
but again, that's still an existing issue for you guys. Is outside of CeeDee Lamb, who's going to beat you in the passing game if it's not Pollard or Schultz?
I need to see more TY snaps this week. That's what I need to see, because he's actually
going to be an interesting game. I personally think the under is like the lock of the second.
I like the over.
See a high scoring game personally.
Yeah, I mean, it could. I just think, 2 really, really good quarterbacks in this type of setting. I feel like 45 over under seems a little bit low.
I don't. I think if this is a race to 24 points, if anybody scores 24 in this game, they're going to win.
Potentially. We'll get through some comments and then read through our bets for this week. So Toronto Dave, appreciate that. Nice little football game going here. Oh, wow, didn't even put together. Yeah, it's gonna be a really crazy live stream, especially because we'll know exactly who our opponent would be the following week by then. So we'll know whether we're playing the Giants, whether we're playing the Eagles, or maybe the 49ers, something like that. What's up, fellas? Interesting. Neither of you are Bills fans. I'd appreciate it if the Bills won the AFC, to be honest.
Yeah, like I have a lot of my friends and family are like Bills fans because we live, it's the closest like geographically to us. So there's a lot of 100%. People around us that are Bills fans. So I would say, I'm like rooting for the Bills, obviously, because they're also just like a long suffering franchise I'd like to see win a championship.
Brock sleeping on our 2 teams, apparently.
Yeah, shame. I'm sleeping on my own team personally. I think the Eagles. I feel the same way about the Eagles in the playoffs this year as I did about Georgia coming into the college football season. I'm like, I just think this is all a formality for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. I think they're gonna win.
It's not even like Georgia. Like,
I am biased given the fact that I did put $50 down on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, but I think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna at least win the NFC. They have a very, very easy path to the NFC. Like, think about if they're going to be a home field. They have a bye week, so they're obviously done this week. Next week, they're going to get a team in Dallas who's typically not been very successful in the playoffs, or a team in
Tampa Bay. Giants or the Seahawks.
Or if some of the upsets happen, then they would have an even lower seed. And then if the playoffs go as we expect, you play a 7th round rookie quarterback in the NFC Championship. Like, I think they're on a collision course to at least make the Super Bowl, in my opinion. If the Cowboys don't beat them, I expect them to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Bengals win the AFC. They definitely could. They're a good team.
They got a tough road, though. They really did get screwed by that game getting canceled, because they will have to play both Buffalo and Kansas City if they want to win the AFC.
For real. Bengals Bills divisional round is the real Super Bowl this year. It could be a really good game.
That would be a very fun game.
Oh man, they have Brady. Cowboys versus Bills. I would love to see that Super Bowl. That's probably my dream matchup. Just story franchise.
We know the narrative going into those games is how badly they ended for the Bills the first 2 times.
Well, like that too. Like I will say, and I'll still hold true that if the Cowboys don't win the Super Bowl, that like the Bills would be the team that I'd want to see win the most out of the rest of the bracket. I mean, they haven't won. They're close by. I got some good friends that are Bills fans, so they're just a franchise that's been through a lot. So seeing them, especially with their superstar quarterback, be able to lift the trophy would be pretty nice. I would say that.
I agree with Brock. I think you should blow us out.
If
you're the team that you think you are, you should blow us out. We're not a good team.
Well, and that's why I said either the Cowboys are going to play like the objectively better team and win by 8+, or they're going to
lose a close game. That's what I said. They're going to lose a close game, or they're going to blow them out. I think either way, the spread being 2.5 isn't. It's hedging against both of those outcomes, obviously, because you can't make the spread like 7 points, or everybody would be taking the Bucs. But at the same time, I do think it's one of those 2 outcomes. Like, the Bucs are either going to win on a last-second field goal, a Brady drive, or something like that, or the Cowboys are going to win like 37-10.
I hope so, Corey. I hope so. That would be really fun to watch. Parsons absolutely swallow them up.
I don't know. Our line's a little healthier now, so hopefully we're able to keep them clean.
Hear me out. Micah Parsons is going to have a little home incentive, if you will, a little extra boost. He actually just had a baby daughter today, so I was just making a joke. Yeah, but he actually has a newborn baby daughter today.
He says, I think the Jags get the upset today.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Yeah, no, I don't mind that call. I actually predicted.
I mean, home dog is usually a good thing to bet on.
Speaking, I mean, I guess we could show our bets real quickly too. So, I have an active one. Basically, I'll go through all of my bets, but I just kind of went through the ones that are quote unquote the 50-50 ones. Because I mean, just the odds in case, Purdy has a stinker, rookie quarterback, -510 just wasn't appealing to me. So I picked Jaguars, Vikings, and Cowboys money line plus 501. Just put a $5 on there because I have $50 on the spread the love. $5 to win, $25 if that hits. So I don't mind that call. In terms of predicting the rest of the game, so obviously the game's not listed here. I still think the Niners are going to beat the Seahawks. Just again, too much risk for that money line total there. Buffalo Bills to beat the Miami Dolphins, and then of course the Bengals to beat the Ravens with no Lamar and no Tyler Huntley. Anthony Brown will be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I placed like a 6-legger for the whole
I don't mind that.
Yeah, for the whole games. I took some spreads, some money lines. So I got, let me pull this up here. I got the 49ers. Like the 49ers game is the one that I'm having the hardest time with because of the weather. I want to take the logical thing would be to take the points of the underdog in a weather game, but I just think the 49ers are vastly the better team.
Mm-hmm.
Even in a weather game, I think weather games typically mean more mistakes. And I think Geno making mistakes means the Niners scoring touchdowns on defense. Like I actually think good weather would bode better for the Seahawks because they're the big play offense, right? Like they're the team that stretches the field vertically. So yeah, I don't love that for the Seahawks, but so I took the Niners -9.5, Chargers money line. I think they're the better team. I think they're going to win. Bills, I think they're going to smoke them like 40 points. Like I actually think they're going to hang numbers on the Dolphins. The Vikings, again, as much as we like to talk about how big frauds they are, I do think they're going to win the game. But that one might end up being a push. Bengals money line there. Ravens at Bengals. I like there. And then Cowboys -2.5. I am betting on the Cowboys. So either way, I think I should be in okay spot here. I also made a 2-team parlay.
That is the greatest reverse jinx I've ever seen.
Just for today's game, I made a 2-team parlay here with the Chargers -2.5 and then the under in the Seahawks 49ers game because of the weather. I think it's a pretty decent bet there. And I think I have one more here. Oh, I did a same game here, which Ayuk, Kittle, Kirk, and Eckler. This is just like a heat seeker, right? Like $10 bet to win 1,300. I actually made this like earlier in the week. I totally forgot about this one. Eckler to score 2 touchdowns, Christian Kirk to get in the end zone, Ayuk to get into the end zone, and then George Kittle 60+ receiving yards. So, yeah, those are our bets. I see some talk about CJ Stroud I want to get to in a second here. Saints. I don't think the Saints. Our defense was on a collision course for the Super Bowl. I think we would have done the same thing to a non-washed Breeze. To be honest, my bracket was almost perfect for 2 years. I need a streak to continue. Let Tony Cook and the Cowboys win. I agree. I think Pollard would be a huge X factor in that game. Waiting on a couple declares still. Yeah, so we're officially waiting on Stroud is the big one because it hasn't been decided. The official date that they need to declare by is Monday, I believe. It's the 16th. Who else are we waiting on? Is there anybody else that we're waiting on? That you know of? Because I know Gibbs Johnson, declared. No? I know Bryce Young declared.
Did Quinn Johnson's officially declare yet? Quinn Johnson?
Yeah, maybe he's the one that we're thinking of. I think somebody said the names actually. Also waiting on QJ and Addison. Who we need.
Oh, really?
We need them. Yeah, is what he said.
Dope. Oh, dope. Yeah, no, exactly them.
I mean, I really hope Addison not declaring will just like further perpetuate the Chris Olave narrative, but.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. If Stroud doesn't declare, I'll be down horrendous. Big facts. Ballard, the coach won't take Young because of his size. If Stroud doesn't declare, we'll reach on Levis at 4. No,
I think you're going to take Levis regardless.
I think you guys are going to trade up for one and take him. That'd probably be a Colts fan's worst nightmare, by the way.
TCU wide receiver set to declare for the 2023 NFL Draft December 31st. So he hasn't officially declared yet, I don't think. But prior to the bowl game or to the college football playoffs, he was going to declare by the sounds of it.
30-18 is my score for the Cowboys-Bucks game. It's actually not a bad score considering.
I'd hit the over if you think
that's what I mean. Like, because like that would be the type of game where if the Cowboys play to their potential, right? However, if the Cowboys don't play to their potential, that could be an 18-17 game for the Bucks.
There also is a report saying that Jordan Addison is expected to declare back in December. So he's not officially done it yet, but he is expected to declare.
Sorry about that, Brock. I just kind of put something into the air that Colts fans are not going to want to hear.
So Brock, for what it's worth, I put a bet down on Will Levis being the first overall draft pick, not to like specifically any team or anything, but the odds when I made the bet were plus 2,200. And let me look at what they are now.
It's 10-1.
It's 7.5 to 1.
Oh my God! So there's a lot. That's a lot with the what's it called?
So I don't think this is just, CJ Golson putting out because everybody they're like, please don't tell me you took CJ Golson's advice. That guy has no sources. But I was like, I mean, for what it's worth, he has been right about a couple things. And I said there's 4 reasons why this could be a smart bet to make. Number 1, we know it's probably going to be a quarterback going first overall because, hindsight would, indicate that somebody's going to want to either hop over Houston or maybe Houston and Chicago make a pick swap or something. Number 2, Bryce Young will have size concerns that will affect NFL teams' opinions of him. It's just a known fact that's going to happen. And number 3, we've heard reports already saying that Will Levis might be the preferred quarterback over either Stroud or Young, depending on what team you ask. So if there's a chance, we got like a 40% chance that Bryce Young's the QB1 on most teams' board, then like a 30% chance that it's Will Levis, and then like another 30% chance that it's CJ Stroud, then the odds should be a lot closer than they are. Right now, Bryce Young is minus 125 to go first overall. CJ Stroud is plus 230, and Will Levis is plus 750. And I would argue that they should be closer than that, even since Will Levis's odds went from plus 2,200 to plus 900 when I saw it yesterday and plus 750 now.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. It's kind of funny because, I mean, we get another comment that if Levis goes 1, where would he go in rookie drafts? I think the answer quite literally is, where does the other quarterbacks go? The other quarterbacks go top 10 and they get solid landing spots. I don't really see a big change in terms of what we need to do with our rankings. Like, of course, if Levis goes 1 and Bryce Young somehow slips to 22nd overall or hypothetically something like that, like, sure, I'll make a change. But if Levis goes 1 and like Bryce Young goes 2nd to the Texans or maybe goes like 6th to the Lions or something like that, like, I'm not changing my rankings.
Yeah, somebody actually asked when I made the bet on the tweet, they replied, where does Levis go in rookie drafts if he goes number 1 overall? And I was like, where do the other quarterbacks go? He said Bryce Young goes 2nd to the Texans, and I think he said CJ Stroud goes like 6th to Carolina or wherever Carolina's picking. And I said, I think I wouldn't probably change anything, that I would have Bryce Young still at first overall. Or first quarterback, and then CJ Stroud probably at 2nd, but Levis and him would be really close, and it would make them at least within the same tier, is what I said. Because I think as of now, you can make the argument that Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are a slight tier above Levis as a prospect because they have much better production. They went to better schools, better weapons around them, and we saw that high level production. I think they're safer prospects as a result. But Will Levis, potentially could be the more valuable fantasy quarterback, given that he has a little bit more physical tools than both those guys.
I would agree, though. I will say, I would much rather a scenario that Anthony Richardson went.
If I'm gonna take a swing at the bat for the home run, I'm gonna do it for Richardson over Levis, because I think Richardson's physical tools are more special than Levis's physical tools. Levis, 100%. Like, what are Levis's physical tools comparable to? Like Zach Wilson's probably?
More. He's 6'4", 235 pounds.
Okay, his size is better than Zach Wilson's, but I think his arm talent is just like it's on par with Zach Wilson.
Probably, but I do think that an underrated thing, and probably why these teams realistically want these bigger quarterbacks, is they want that guy that they can look at and say, hey, listen, he's going to stick in the pocket and he's going to eat a hit and he's going to make this play down the field. And maybe that was something we kind of overlooked with Wilson. Like, yeah, he was playing at a lower level of competition, but there wasn't really much substance of him getting hit early often and, bouncing back in a game. At least with Levis at Kentucky, like, yeah, he didn't have great statistical
output. He took a beating
output
this year.
That's what I was going to say. He didn't have a great offensive line. He took a beating. He stayed in the pocket. So I could see teams like being alert to that. Again, he still has that bonehead factor. Well, you'll make a throw and you'll look at it and be like, what the fuck were you seeing there? But at the same time, it's like, if you're doing that while also having, flashes of taking a beating, 10, 15 hits and still being able to lead your team down the field, I feel like that's something that the teams are going to overvalue more so than us fantasy content creators, if you will.
Speaking of boneheaded decisions, who's a good comp for Will Levis now that I think about it? Sam.
You lagged. Is it just me or here? Can you guys hear me? Okay, I can't tell if this is me or Corey.
I think it's me.
Okay.
Okay. Well, my comp idea for him was Sam Darnold. I don't know if you can hear me.
Sam Darnold. I thought you were gonna say Sam Howell.
No, Sam Darnold, because Sam Darnold has the same kind of factor of turning the ball over and stuff. Yeah. And we also, I think, size wise they're pretty similar. Physical tools wise they're probably pretty similar as well. Sam Darnold was built as a guy that is big, good arm, not like a superstar arm, but definitely a good arm to above average arm. I think that's probably what you're looking at with Will Levis. He's not Josh Allen. He doesn't have, like, people comparing him to Josh Allen. He does not have Josh Allen's arm, and he doesn't have Josh Allen's
Nobody does
size either, because Josh Allen's way bigger than him.
Brock made an interesting one. He said basically, like what his upside would be like a Tannehill.
Yeah, I think Tannehill's a good comp too. I think you get a good like Tannehill played tight end in college or whatever. So
wide receiver,
good enough athlete or wide receiver. Yeah, they're both good athletes. They're both gonna, it's almost like kind of Daniel Jonesy too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as well.
So that's why I'm not like rushing to put Levis up the board over Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Whereas with Anthony Richardson, if he goes 6th overall, Anthony Richardson has Justin Fields type of tools. He doesn't have, Sam Darnold tools. Like, he has, his athleticism is that of Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson types. Like, it's not even comparable to a guy like Will Levis. Well, Will Levis is a better athlete than CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. He's not on the level of even some of the current best fantasy quarterbacks.
Yep, I would agree with that. 2024 would be crazy if Stroud stayed.
Yeah.
By the way, you already know from a Michigan perspective, if CJ Stroud stays back at OSU this year and Michigan still beats Ohio State, and this guy would have gone 0-3 in the last 3 years against Michigan, oh boy, you're not even ready for how the media would react to that.
Yeah.
You already got guys that are clowning Stroud for going 0-2 against Michigan. If he lost again after not declaring, good luck.
Yeah, and he'd have all of his, in theory, the reason he wouldn't declare is because he wants to win a natty, because he has Agbuka and Harrison in their draft eligible seasons. They have some good freshmen and stuff too, but I think he'd be, unless he's getting some crazy NIL deal, I think he definitely should declare for the draft, because he's going to go in the top 10.
Well, what's more likely? He goes in the top 5 to 10 this year, or he goes in the top 5 to 10 next year when he's competing with Drake May and Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I think it's more likely he goes in the top 5 to 10 this year. And I think an NFL draft committee or whatever that they have is going to tell him to declare. They're going to be like, dude, you need to come out. Like, how often you're going to get a guaranteed top 10 pick selection, and teams are going to give you 20, you're going to stay for a $2 million NIL deal at risk of getting injured and going into a better quarterback class rather than get a $20 million or how much? I don't even know how much rookie contracts are for top 10 picks. They're like definitely more than whatever NIL deal he's getting offered.
19 million, I think.
Yeah, it's something crazy. Like, it's definitely going to be whatever more than what he's getting offered at Ohio State. Actually, Corey said, I don't have a pick until the mid-second. Is it possible to get a QB that will start? I would say the only way you get a quarterback that's going to start at that point is if Hendon Hooker is like an early 2nd round pick, or maybe a late 1st round pick, and then you have the ability to maybe wait on him a little bit.
But if that happens, he'll probably go higher than mid-second.
I don't know. I think he might still go in the mid-second, even if he was a late 1st round pick.
Really?
Yeah, because of the injury, I think people would probably steer clear of him. And he's maybe, like 25.
Of course, said if we don't score 30, not sure we pull it off. I don't know. I think
you guys could win if you scored 17 points.
Maybe. At what point do Lance owners worry about Brock Purdy? I'm actually, if anything, I'm more optimistic about Trey Lance, because either A, if Brock Purdy won the Super Bowl, they would chip him off and potentially set him up to start somewhere else. Maybe Tampa Bay would make a lot of sense.
I disagree.
That's what I'm saying.
Me and you kind of disagree on this. I am more worried about Brock Purdy than you are.
But see, the thing is, I think there's only one of two scenarios. Either Trey Lance is started for the 49ers, or Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl. They want to commit to him, and he's traded to like Tampa Bay.
Right. I agree. But here's the thing. It's not necessarily Brock Purdy's presence. It's the presence of a quarterback who's going to be a playmaker or a distributor, rather than, because initially we heard that he wanted Mac Jones, right? Like San Francisco wanted to draft Mac Jones. I think it's more so like the belief in Trey Lance wavering if they have a quarterback who operates the offense, just getting the ball to their playmakers, rather than saying it's simply, look at how this limited 7th round quarterback performed in the same system. We can just copy and paste that directly and expect Trey Lance to even be better. I think that's fair to make that assessment. I think that definitely could play out, but I don't think it's a guarantee necessarily.
To a degree, yeah. And I mean, like, you'll see what Jimmy and you'll see what Brock does. The only rebuttal I have is if they don't win the Super Bowl like they didn't with Jimmy just a couple years ago, and it's more so a reason of not having your quarterback being that ultimate playmaker at the end of the day, I feel like that would leave you more like, I feel like in that scenario, if he won the Super Bowl, like, sure, you move on and you trust him again, and the city's going to love him, hypothetically. But if you go to the Super Bowl and it's just pretty simple that he can't man up with a guy like Patrick Mahomes, you got to give the quarterback with the better tools the chance.
How devastating would it be if the 49ers lose another Super Bowl to Patrick Mahomes in the same fashion because they have a limited quarterback?
Bro, that picture of Jimmy Garoppolo down 4 in crunch time, and it's like having a Jimmy G moment. That's the funniest meme ever. The one where he like trots out and he's looking up.
Or he had Emmanuel Sanders deep down the field or whatever.
Yeah, dude, what a fucking mess.
Okay, so let's get to a couple more comments and then we'll head out of here. I think we missed IDUP's comment. He said Gibbs or JSN. I, as of now, would take Jackson Smith and Jigba before knowing Jahmyr Gibbs' size.
I talked about this, so I think it was Ian that asked this exact question. I said, well, right now, I think you have to answer JSN. But if Gibbs goes into it and he's 205 plus pounds, and he gets drafted in the top 40, and has the exact pre-draft process we need from him, at that point, given the current structures of my startups, I would take Gibbs. Reason being, because I'm way more likely to use a wide receiver tiebreaker in my startups. So therefore, I'm more likely to use the running back tiebreaker in my rookie drafts. Like, as long as they're similar type of prospects, JSN obviously being a very good receiver prospect, Jahmyr Gibbs, if he gets the draft capital, if he gets the weigh-in, I think would be the clear cut number 2 running back at that point.
Right, and you got to think too, as much as like we might prefer Jackson Smith and Jigba at face value because we don't think Jahmyr Gibbs is like this Bijan caliber running back prospect. Just by the fact of the running back landscape, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go higher in startups. He's going to be 100%. Like the RB 6 to 10 off the board, give or take, if he gets good draft capital, weighs in solid. And that's going to mean he's a 3rd round startup pick or maybe even higher versus Jackson Smith and Jigba's absolute best case scenario. He's like a 4th or a 5th round startup pick, just given how many great wide receivers we have, great young wide receivers and quarterbacks and all that kind of stuff. So I think even if you prefer Jackson Smith and Jigba, it probably behooves you to take him over Jahmyr Gibbs because Jahmyr Gibbs will be the higher startup pick value there. Ergo have more trade value too.
Hear me out. I know it's a different scenario given because like they're all different prospects in this vein, but doesn't it kind of feel like Devontae Smith versus Travis Etienne to a degree?
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. A little bit.
You know what I'm saying? Where you're getting like the running back 2 in the class. He's got this receiving profile, like if he gets top capital like Etienne did, I feel like if you took either Devontae or Etienne, it's obviously worked out for both of you. But if you needed a receiver and you went with Devontae,
could even be Waddle and Javonte from the same draft class.
That's another one, yeah. Well. Right. So it's a similar scenario, if that makes sense.
I think at that point you just got to deal with whoever's the better prospect, right? Like whoever you liked better as the prospect. Look at them. Don't take the positions away for a second. Not totally, because it does matter. But for a second, take the positions away. If you determine I'd rather have Jackson Smith and Jigba at face value over Jahmyr Gibbs, then you should trade down from your Jahmyr Gibbs picks to take Jackson Smith and Jigba, or you should just, trade the pick altogether maybe. And for future years.
I agree with that at face value. However, what I'm kind of saying is if you view them like truly view them in a similar tier as a prospect, especially if the prerequisites of weight and draft capital happen, again, more pertinent to the running back position as opposed to the wide receiver position. If you get all the factors, similar landing spots, only, the running back who you viewed personally close pre-draft gets all the prerequisites you need, I don't mind with going Gibbs over JSN in that point, especially with how you structure your team.
Yeah, but the other thing, sorry, go ahead, you can finish.
All I was just going to say is, but don't just do it because he's a running back. Do it because you genuinely have them in the same tier, and it just fills your structure better, is how I would describe it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we see market inefficiencies, though, where like Jahmyr Gibbs will be the 102 in rookie drafts, and people will take Jackson Smith and Jigba 102, even like as like a moderately consensus type of take. And then you get into a startup and JSN's like a 6th round startup pick, and Jahmyr Gibbs goes at like the middle of the 3rd. And there's like half the community is taking JSN at 102. And it's like, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. If they're that close and it's a split decision for most of the community, they should go very, very similar in startups.
Yep. No, I'd agree with that. Bryce Young against UGA. Yeah, I know he's honestly Just a
I agree. I'm starting to like, at first I was like, you know what, whoever gets the best landing spot, if Anthony Richardson gets first round draft capital, it's going to be the 101. But I'm starting to think Bryce Young might just be a much better prospect than all those guys.
I'd agree. Got you. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, that was a good call. Trey Lance tools maybe even better.
I think he has better tools than Trey Lance, personally.
You can make the argument. Maybe this is a little hyperbolic. Okay, arm talent outside of Herbert, Mahomes, and Allen. Like you could make the argument that just strictly arm strength wise, A-Rich could probably have the fourth strongest arm in the league.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if people are going to be quick to compare him to Malik Willis too, he's better tools than Malik Willis.
Way better tools.
Like Malik Willis is a talented rusher. No, don't get me wrong, and he's definitely got good arm talent. But I think Richardson has like this. It's almost like you have to see it. Like it's a twitchiness ability when he runs the ball that only really I could say definitively Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, and Lamar Jackson, and maybe Kyler Murray have.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think I mean, you're looking at Anthony Richardson. He's already the size of quite literally like a prime Cam Newton. Guy's legitimately 6'4", 240 pounds. I mean, Cam Newton, like an unrefined Newton, would probably be like a relatively decent comparison for Anthony Richardson. No?
Yeah. Well, I actually compared Justin Fields to Cam Newton, and I think Justin Fields is going to be a lot of comparisons for Anthony Richardson too.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Stroud wins it if he stays healthy, or wins it all if he stays. Wins the national championship, because I'll tell you right now, Michigan is going to be as good, if not stronger, next year as they were this year.
Yeah, I mean, UGA will probably be a little bit worse than they were for sure. It's possible that the window's a little bit more open.
Yeah, I genuinely still think that next year Michigan versus Ohio State is going to be another 50-50. Like they're both.
Yeah, I mean, it usually is no matter what's happening with those two teams. Okay, let's finish up these questions, and then we'll head off of here. It's actually 3-0 San Francisco right now. The game's already started.
How'd the offense look?
I didn't even see the drive for the 49ers. Fair. I just saw the Seahawks punt the ball away. So Brock says future Saint, Hendon Hooker. I don't personally think that's a great
that would make sense.
It would make sense, but I think if I was the Saints, I would much rather spend that early second round pick on something else and just stick with Jameis. Like, because to be fair, like I think a lot of us in the like fantasy community and like the NFL community in general, we always like forget about players in like more coaches tend to believe that players don't lose their job to injury more than like fans and fantasy players do. They might look at the season and be like, you know what, we didn't have a good spot here, but you know, Jameis was banged up, so we had to deal with our backup quarterback. We're going to give Jameis a real season.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It's possible that they say that because he's still under contract and there's a good chance that he could still be the starting quarterback there. And I think if you guys need to buy low in Dynasty, like a really, really cheap quarterback to buy, I think Jameis Winston's a great guy to go after. For like a third round pick, probably. You could probably get him for.
Side note, the 49ers scoring drive, Deebo Samuel had 2 carries for 29 yards, so that's looking good for our lack of McCaffrey shares. Yeah,
also looking good for the fact that we said to take the over on his rushing yards on when Spicy Hot was building out the entry too. JSN 102. Yeah, if you believe that, again, we can all have our takes on players, but remember what the market's doing. That's the important part. If you believe JSN's 102 and he's the consensus 106 or 107, do not draft him at 102.
Yep. No, I agree with that. If that happens, Danny, I would. Yeah, no, and I agree that. However, if he does get that draft capital and he does weigh 205 plus, those size concerns you don't have to worry about at all.
Yeah, because he's a good enough receiving profile that as long as he's cracking 205 pounds, 5 foot, and I'd hopefully he's a little shorter than he's listed too, because he's listed like right? 5'11" right now. If he actually comes in 5'9", 205 or 5'10",
I would be 205. Really good.
I think that's actually much better for his draft capital. I also heard a fantasy analyst concerned about how big Sean Tucker was.
What?
I know. I was confused.
Like 210?
And he's also 5'10" too. He's not that tall. So he's literally like the Javonte Williams size profile, and nobody was concerned about Javonte's size.
Side note: I'm feeling a lot more comfortable about my Aaron Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs comp because I know everybody's going to point to Kamara, but
Kamara's too big.
Kamara's too big, and Kamara is quite literally the best contact balance I have ever seen with my own eyes. Like, yeah, it makes
contract
no sense.
Alvin Kamara, the guy literally bounced off of arm tackles like nobody's business.
It's so sad to see how much he's fallen off, man. Like, fuck.
I don't even know if it's that he's fallen off or if it's
he's not the same runner.
It's definitely a little bit of both. I think if Sean Payton was there, it wouldn't have been as bad this year, but for the most part, it's he's fallen off for sure. Okay, let's answer these questions here.
Yeah, YWL? McCaffrey, huge run. Fuck.
Crap.
That might be for 7. No, he's gonna get hawked down, I think. Okay. YWL says, would you ship Waddle 103 and 111 for Burrow and Judy? And you can make the argument that Burrow's worth that package on his own. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't give up quite that much if I was going after Burrow. But I think it's reasonable given that he's a quarterback who's locked into, elite production.
Bro, yeah, I know. I love how we're talking about shit about CMC and he just rips off like a 70-yarder.
Yeah.
I love the player. It's just he was overvalued in those tournaments. If you can make the argument that Burrow equals at least Waddle in the 103, right? Probably.
Yeah. Oh, Waddle, yeah, for sure. I would be very comfortable giving up Waddle in the 103 for Burrow if I was.
And then I would rather Judy than the 111.
Yeah. Any difference kind of gets made up there because I think that Judy's probably worth about 107 to 110, somewhere around that range.
Somewhere around that. I mean, I think like at this point, you probably have to favor the 3 receivers in the draft this year to him, just because it's basically like a reroll. You're getting a younger player with similar projected.
Or if you somehow get a quarterback, if everybody hates on Levis and you can get him at 108, I think it's reasonable to say that you take him too.
But if you told me, you would prefer I would prefer like Judy to like Josh Downs and stuff, and that was probably about the break in terms of the tier. Niners defense looking good, but Purdy flirting with a couple major picks. Yeah.
He's either going to be a revelation in this playoffs, or he's going to be the reason that they can't advance. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. People are putting so much faith into him, leading them to the Super Bowl. Yeah, dude, let's be real. If Brock Purdy led your team to the NFC Championship alone, you would be pretty happy with that outcome.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? No, I was just gonna say so many people are picking them to make the Super Bowl and some of them winning the Super Bowl. And it's just like, let's just enjoy it. Like, why do we have to put so much pressure onto that right now?
Yeah. Okay. So this is the last thing, and then we are going to sign off of here. So YWL says, does it change anything for 103 if Stroud doesn't declare? Yes, it makes the draft class worse. If you have a top 4,
100%.
If CJ Stroud does not declare, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely, if anybody says that they're worried about Sean Tucker's speed, they just do not know what they're talking about.
They don't know how to
blank period. They have no idea who the player is. He was a track athlete in high school. There should be zero concerns with his speed.
The only concern you could possibly have is that he's not the most nuanced runner. If you're talking about an athlete and receiving
horizontal
chops,
side to side agility is the concern that most people that I've seen have with Sean Tucker, not straight line speed. He's kind of Darrell Henderson-y a little bit. But people said that about Tyler Algier last year too, and he looks like he's just fine. So I would say that to put a bow on the Sean Tucker discussion.
CMC touchdown.
Anyways, God damn it. Brock Purdy just threw a CMC touchdown. We are going to head off of here. Appreciate you guys for joining us. This has been on the screen the whole time. Again, last day to get involved in the giveaway. If you guys haven't already checked out Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code FSE, and you'll be entered for one of 5 $50 on-site credits. Plus, you'll get 100% back up to $100 on your first deposit. And our pick'em line should still be live. I don't know if it's gone now that the games have kicked off, but the completions line is for Herbert. So I would imagine it's going to be live until tonight. So even if you guys already have an Underdog account, make sure to check out that boosted pick'em line. Get some entries on there. But appreciate you guys for joining us. Peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.